Greetings and salutations, travelers of the internet. Welcome to the Lit Round Table. I'm Anna.
And I'm Joseph, and today will be your wise or not so wise mentors for today's audio adventure into all things storytelling. And today we have a very exciting movie we're going to talk about, as well as go over some housekeeping things beforehand. But we are going to be talking about Godzilla -1. One of the best movies I think I've seen this year, and I think you'd probably agree.
Absolutely. Like, no contest. It is my top movie of the year, for sure.
So it's a foreign monster movie.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
We'll get into it, for sure. Before we get into that, though, we need to talk about our housekeeping items. So first and foremost, this is the last episode of Season 3 of the Lit Round Table. So as per usual, we are going to take a little bit of a break for the month of January. And then we'll be back in February. We have some big life things happening this year. Joseph is also going back to school. So we are both going to be... Are you going back full-time? Are you officially going to be a full-time student?
Yeah.
Okay. So we are both going to be full-time students, both working. So we're having to make a few adjustments, which means that the podcast in 2024 is going to look a little different.
Yes.
We are going to maintain our read-along schedule as it's been going, so no changes there, which we have another announcement about that in just a moment. But our regular main podcast episodes are going to look a little different. The plan is to have an episode launch at the top of the month. Not going to give you a hard date because life, but the goal is to have an episode released on a Wednesday at the beginning of the month. And then we will also do our bonus episodes, which will be available on our Patreon in the middle of the month. So that is for sure what you can look for. That's not to say that we won't. I mean, it's possible that we could have an extra episode in there somewhere, maybe. But like, we're gonna allow for some flexibility in case there's something that we really got to talk about.
Yeah.
But the main plan is to pare it down a little bit just while we adjust to being students again and
still having work and personal lives and all that good stuff.
Just trying to lighten the load.
Yeah. So it'll be, just to be crystal clear, one episode for the regular podcast a month at the beginning of the month, and your usual 2 a month typically for the read along, because it's every other week for that.
Right.
And we're still going to do a bonus episode every month for those of you who are the top tier Patreon supporters. So that's the plan. But we reserve the right to change it, and maybe I'll start school and be like, oh, this is super doable. And maybe we'll see. We'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens.
But it'll just be an adjustment period for everyone.
Yes.
So bear with us.
Yep. But figured now is a good time to make that transition so that as Joseph starts school and we get into things, just start out. We wanted to make the decision now instead of getting into the school year and being like, oh my gosh, everything's on overload. So trying to be a little more cognizant as we plan for the new year.
For sure.
And then our read-along, we are almost done with the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin. And you still have time to vote if you're a member of our Patreon. Any level gets voting rights. So, your options are Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson, A Venom Dark and Sweet by Judy Lynn, or The Obelisk Gate by N.K. Jemisin. So, those are your options.
Super pumped.
Super pumped. Okay. Anything else before we dive into Godzilla -1?
I don't think so.
Okay, let's do this.
Let's talk about a kaiju.
Yeah.
All right, which, kaiju is a Japanese word for big, big monster. Like this
Gotcha.
is a kaiju movie,
Sure.
like Pacific Rim.
Sure. Okay. I want to start by finding let's set the table for our level of exposure to Godzilla before we went into this movie.
Yes, because this is the 37th Godzilla movie ever to come out.
Mm-hmm.
And I have not seen most of those.
I have not seen any of them.
Oh no, this was your
Yeah.
only Godzilla movie?
Yes.
Oh, the bar is so
That
high
is
now.
exactly what Blake said. He was like, "Oh, this is a
Dang.
bummer." Because now you're going to watch the other ones and be like, this is lame.
Oh, nuts. So, so this is your only Godzilla movie.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen the recent American Godzilla movies,
Mm-hmm.
like the one with Bryan Cranston that came out first back in the day, and then we had like Godzilla King of Monsters, Godzilla versus Kong. There's going to be another Godzilla Kong movie that's coming out. I've seen like all the ones in that universe that
Mm-hmm.
have Godzilla in them. I haven't seen Kong Skull Island, but I've seen the Godzilla versus Kong, and I have seen some of the Netflix. I think it was a movie. It's like Godzilla Earth. I've seen that, which was
Okay.
like an animated Netflix thing. Um, and I have seen a lot of clips from Shin Godzilla, which is a Japanese Godzilla movie that came out before this one. I feel like that's the Japanese version or the Japanese Godzilla movie that came out before minus one several years ago, and that one I've seen clips of, but I haven't seen the whole thing in its entirety. But now I really want to. But yeah, so that's my exposure level to Godzilla. Now, Sarah, friend of the podcast, who is my wife's sister-in-law,
And also your
has seen.
sister-in-law.
Well, I don't know how that works. Is that true? Is that how it works?
You're in-laws of each other. Yeah.
We're both married to siblings
Yeah.
of the same family.
Yeah.
So, okay, so sister-in-law Sarah, she has seen like everything.
Oh, really?
So
Okay.
I've been talking to her a little bit about Godzilla minus one over some of the holiday festivities, and that's always fun to pick her brain about Godzilla because she knows a lot
Yeah.
about it. So
That's awesome.
yeah,
She and Blake would also have a good time conversing about it, I'm sure.
I'm sure they would.
Because I would not have gone to see a Godzilla movie if it were not for my boyfriend being super excited to see Godzilla minus one. And he had been a good sport and gone to Barbie and the Eras Tour movie with me. So,
Nice.
and it wasn't that I was disinterested. It's just not a movie that I would have picked out of a lineup.
Yeah.
But it's not. I don't have anything inherently opposed to Godzilla movies. Just that it's not something that I would normally choose for myself. Out of
Yeah. You didn't take convincing. It was just you wouldn't
Right.
have picked it first,
Right.
which is fine.
So leading up to going to the movie, Blake was telling me a lot of Godzilla lore, like trying to think of things that I might
Okay.
need to know. And so I went in expecting a monster movie.
Uh-huh.
I don't think I got a monster movie.
I think you got an elevated monster movie where yes, there was a monster, but it was also a character analysis.
Right.
It was a glimpse into post-war Japan. It was a movie about survivor's guilt and PTSD, and it was incredible.
Yeah.
It was so good.
Yes. Let me say
And
when I say that it was not a monster movie, I do not mean that as a criticism
right, yeah.
at all. I think that
Like
anyone can and should see this movie.
like you got all of those elements and a terrifying monster.
Yeah.
And so at this point we should say spoiler warning for the
Oh my
movie going
gosh.
forward.
Yes.
We haven't spoiled anything yet, but if you haven't seen this movie and you want to and you're listening right now, stop it. Stop.
Unless you like spoilers. Blake really likes spoilers.
Okay, sure.
And honestly, like if you, this is a different movie, but if you are interested in seeing The Boy and the Heron, you should spoiler it up, man, so you know what's happening.
Okay, fair. But if you don't want spoilers, then stop now.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So, so I have like a list of things that I definitely want to touch on that I thought about the movie. Do you have things that you for sure want to talk about?
Just mentally in my brain.
That's fine. That's fine. So one of the biggest things that I really loved about the movie, that I geeked out about, and that I got to geek out with Sam, brother-in-law, about, was the historically accurate ships
Yeah.
in the movie and aircraft.
Cool.
The Japanese aircraft that the main character flew in the very beginning was accurate. All of the ships were accurate. Even the names, like the one that I saw at the end in the climax where they're having this confrontation with Godzilla, they're trying to like sink him to the ocean floor and then rise him up again and like blow him up and all that crazy stuff. The Yokokaze was the destroyer, which I've like used that boat in playing Axis and Allies against Dad.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
And so I saw Yokokaze on the ship and I had a mini freak out moment in the theater. I was like, oh my gosh, I've used that boat. It's got great torpedoes. Didn't do any good against Godzilla.
No. Okay, so speaking of historical accuracy, Blake is a science teacher. And so afterwards, he was geeking out about how when Godzilla is like building up to use his nuclear breath,
Yeah.
that blue color is like the color of nuclear fission. So like that is a real thing, I guess. I didn't know that. But Blake was very excited about it.
It's because it was the nuclear bomb testing that America did in the Pacific that irradiated Godzilla and gave him these crazy powers with the atomic breath, the regeneration, all that good stuff.
Yep.
And it's interesting. It's always interesting to look at, like, you get an animal gets irradiated in an American movie, and maybe it bites you and you become a superhero, right? An animal becomes irradiated in a Japanese movie, and it flattens Tokyo.
Yeah.
So, two very different viewpoints on nuclear power, and it's fascinating to look at the two different perspectives that those two cultures have, given the history of, like, Japan's the only country that's ever had a nuclear bomb dropped on it twice.
Right. Right.
Like in a wartime context. So there was a lot of that too, about like how you even go on living in a world with nuclear powers.
Yeah.
There was the scene where Godzilla uses his atomic breath. I think it was like the second time we see it in the movie, but one of the civilians in Tokyo says, "It's just like before," and I was just like, "Oh my gosh, that is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
That is so heartbreaking."
Yes. So earlier this year, I took a social justice and youth lit course, and we read a book written by a survivor of the Nagasaki bombing. And so, and it was a autobiographical, historical book with a lot of pictures.
Yeah.
And I was struck while watching the movie at how eerily similar it looked. And that, like, returning home and not knowing what you were going to find, if you were going to find anything.
Yeah. Yeah, when he went home and saw that his parents had died in the fire bombings of Tokyo. Yeah. The uncertainty of war,
Right.
And it's even crazier for this movie. The idea to have a kamikaze pilot as the main character. A failed kamikaze pilot.
Right.
And the thing about kamikaze pilots, they already had his funeral for him. Like, he had already said goodbye to his family. He had supposedly consigned himself to his fate. But then, the war's about to end. Like, why would I go ram myself into a ship or a runway in like an enemy airstrip if the war's about to end? And it's just such an interesting character study on him and the
Well,
survivor's guilt that follows.
and he didn't want to die.
Yeah.
There's a lot of him thinking back and looking at like letters and things from his parents that are saying things like, please survive. And then the tragedy of him surviving when he should not have, according to his role,
Yeah.
to get home and discover that his parents had not. Heartbreaking.
And having the thoughts of like, if I had done my job, maybe they would have lived.
Yeah.
You know, like if I had done my job and sank the aircraft carrier that launched the planes that bombed their house, you know, just
Yeah.
like it's really easy to fall into that mental trap.
This poor guy has so many layers of survivor's guilt. So we have that.
Yeah.
He survived the war and his parents didn't. We have the island where he lands his defective, quote unquote, airplane that's not defective. And then Godzilla comes and destroys the island and everyone on it, except for him and one other guy, the mechanic.
And if he had just used the machine guns on his airplane to kill Godzilla,
Right.
it wouldn't have happened. Even though like we, the audience, know like that was not going to kill Godzilla.
Right.
But
he survived.
yeah.
And nobody else did. And then later on, this is jumping ahead, so I guess we're talking about survivor's guilt right now.
Yeah.
When he's on the boat, the little dinghy, where they're trying to eradicate the bombs that are just left floating in the ocean, and Godzilla pops up. The other little boat gets destroyed. And then that big ship that you recognized, or is that the one at the very end?
That was the Yukikaze, the destroyer, but the cruiser
Yeah.
that comes in, the Takao, is an actual Japanese cruiser, the first of its class, and those were really, really powerful Japanese cruisers for sure.
Yeah.
And Godzilla just like
Takes him out.
French.
Yeah. So he survives that.
Ugh.
And then when he's back in the city, he watches his, whatever we want to call her, not girlfriend,
His not wife.
not wife, and
His
everybody
roommate.
else get annihilated. Like, he just keeps surviving. He keeps
Yeah.
surviving, and he keeps feeling guilty, and it's eating away at him to the point where he does just want to die. He is done.
He's, by the end of the movie, or at least by the time we're building up to the climax, he's ready to fulfill his role as a kamikaze pilot, and he's ready to fly a plane full of explosives into Godzilla's mouth
Right.
to try to kill it.
And
And
so,
man,
and he recruits the mechanic that also survived the island and blamed him for the death of all these other men to help him get this airplane put back into shape so that he can fly it. And this mechanic is giving him a hard time the whole time.
yeah,
And then he puts in the ejection seat for him. And oh my gosh, what a beautiful moment for both of those characters. We barely saw the mechanic. We saw him at the beginning, and then we saw him leading up to the climax. But the character growth that he experienced is going from absolutely hating this person to not wanting war, not wanting this evil thing to take another life, even if it's a life that he has despised for so long.
the scientist character was standout for me in the movie. The
yes.
guy with the crazy hair.
Yes.
I loved that actor, and I loved the performance.
Not
and
the
I
same
loved
as the mechanic,
character.
for the record.
No,
Different
not the same. This is the scientist.
Yeah.
So he had a really standout moment in the movie for me where he actually called out the Japanese military for its recklessness with human life. And he has that moment where he says, you know, we made tanks and aircraft with weak armor, airplanes with no ejector seats, Uh, we started using kamikaze pilots that were suicide pilots that would just crash into things to destroy it. And there's just such a low value of human life. And he talks about not wanting to live like that anymore, and he wants to pull this mission off and kill Godzilla with no casualties. And he doesn't want anyone to die. And you tie that in with the mechanic telling him about the ejector seat.
Oh, I just got goosebumps.
And it's just like, it's like people coping with the aftermath of a world war on that scale, and just wanting the violence and the death to stop, and just refusing to go back.
Yeah.
They're moving forward. They're not going back. They're not regressing back to that mindset
No.
of kamikaze. They want to live. They're tired of all the death. And it was just so good. I loved that whole theme throughout the movie. It was great.
Yeah. Agreed.
So, okay, we talked about that, which kind of ties into like PTSD, like the nightmares he would have. That was so terrifying.
Yeah.
Like him waking up from nightmares and not knowing if this was real. He was like, for all I know, I'm dead on this beach, and you're just on that beach, and you're just a dream. Like, who am I? What am I? Like, man, that was so heartbreaking to see.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that hits home for a lot of people who have relatives that have like fought in wars and have had those moments.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about the music, because the music is really cool.
It's so good.
You know me.
Yeah.
I appreciate a good soundtrack, and Godzilla delivers, mostly because it borrows the original Godzilla theme. Every time you hear that big brass, like that's his theme.
Yeah.
Which they just recycle for these movies. And it was cool, heard from Sarah, that like in the Godzilla King of Monsters movie, where they've got all these different monsters that are coming in and fighting each other, they all have their own theme songs from the other Godzilla movies that, from way back when, and they recycled the themes for that movie too. So that's really cool.
Nice.
Like Mothra has a theme song that was used.
Yeah.
But no, that Godzilla theme just hits so hard. And
Yeah.
it's so good.
This is very good.
Just inspires dread.
Kind of related when we're talking about like sound mixing. Did you see it English dubbed or subtitled?
It was subtitled.
Mine too. And I wonder if I have a lot of respect for dubbed cinema.
Uh-huh.
But I do wonder if you would have lost some of the delivery on some of it in English.
Yeah. I feel like it's easier to do dubbed for like animated media, like anime or any of that. I feel like it's harder to pull off with live action because it's so much more obvious that the mouth movements don't match.
Well, that's true enough. But I just
So
meant
that's kind of distracting, but also having that
the acting.
the raw, like, emotional delivery
Yeah.
of those actors, and their vocal performances would be lost a little bit. So I don't think I would want to see it any other way, personally.
Agreed.
Not saying people can't see it dubbed when it is available that way,
no.
but I think I would personally prefer to see it subbed.
I was glad that the showing that we were going to go to was subtitled. So.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of the music, so the Godzilla theme does kind of remind me of Jaws a little bit, because it's just that deep, that dread that it inspires. And there's a moment in the movie that is pretty much straight out of Jaws.
That's what Blake said. I've also never seen Jaws, so I don't know, but
that's fair. But so basically, like, I looked it up afterwards, and the director did get inspiration from Jaws for the movie, but it's the scene where they get the mine into Godzilla's mouth and shoot it to blow it up. Mm-hmm. That's like how they kill Jaws in the movie. So yeah, that was kind of funny, that we got another Jaws scene in a Godzilla movie.
But also did not work.
No, super did not. Definitely failed.
Yeah.
And in the end, it didn't even work, because when Godzilla gets blown up, like, his carcass is like regenerating as it floats to the ocean floor.
Yeah.
So,
and the girlfriend, wife, person,
yeah, she's got something
she's
going
got
on.
something going on. So Blake said that in Godzilla lore, there is a movie or a series of movies where Godzilla creates doppelgangers for people.
Gross.
Maybe I'm misremembering this. But so the possible theory is that she's not really her.
Oh. That she is actually Godzilla or like some kind of...
Spawn of some kind.
Yeah. That's trippy. I know at the end of Shin Godzilla, they had played around with a really kind of creepy ending, because in that movie, Godzilla kept evolving and evolving until in the end, it was like these humanoid-looking Godzilla spawn that were like coming off of him. So like I'm like, maybe they're gonna go that route where
Maybe that's what it is.
she's got some kind of like Godzilla sickness, some kind of like irradiated disease that's...
Yeah, because there's no way she would have survived that. Okay, this leads me to my like one of my main and only criticisms. Is that all I could think of every time he used his atomic breath was that, okay, some of these people survived, but for how long? Because they all have radiation poisoning. There's no way they don't. So, in a year, they'll all be gone. Anyway. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't know the
I don't know the like actual time frame, but I know radiation poisoning is no joke.
For sure. I don't know how Godzilla's breath works in terms of radiation poisoning. But the Godzilla in this movie, when he uses his atomic breath, it is legitimately a nuke going off.
Yeah.
It's like mushroom cloud, which was terrifying.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. Also, it was so I said that I wanted to bring this up. This was something funny that I noticed. Child acting is it's hard to pull off. Now
I thought she did great. I thought
she did.
Yeah.
No, she did. There was just one moment specifically where she was like just stone faced, and then all of a sudden it went from stone faced to meltdown. Like so fast, and it was like I could tell that there was someone off screen holding up cue cards that say "cry." Like that's all in my mind I could see when she started bawling. It was just like, and cry.
Maybe
it was funny, but no, that was, man. Everything about the main character's dynamic with like the minesweeping crew. I loved their ragtag group.
So good.
And I loved how they gave him such a hard time about not marrying her. Like, you're living in this house and taking care of this kid together, but like you're not married.
And how shocked they were. They're like, what?
Yeah, they all thought that she was his wife.
And then when she died, they were like,
you should have married her, you idiot.
Seems like he really loved her.
Yeah. Man.
Oh, and the neighbor lady who lost her kids. Okay, this is the other thing. She was so mad at him. Rightfully so. Like, I'm maybe not rightfully so. Like, I understand, I guess, is what I'm saying. Why she was so mad at him.
In the beginning?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she also had the mindset of...
Yes. She was also
you should have done your duty. Yeah.
You should have done your duty. If you had done your duty. Yeah. But she had 2 kids that had been at home, and they had also died in the bombings. And I was like, well, where were you? You survived your kids. And then I realized, she has the same survivor's guilt.
Just 2 people coping and lashing out.
Yeah. But then, he ends up with this girl and baby. this orphaned child that the girl has rescued, and they're raising her together, and the neighbor lady gets to help with babysitting, and it's kind of a beautiful balm, I think.
Yes, for sure. There's like the idea of community coming together and like helping each other survive in the midst of catastrophe. Like your city being firebombed and like just trying to rebuild
Yeah.
was really cool to see.
Yeah, agreed.
Such a great examination of post-war like mentality
Absolutely.
in Japan. There's one more thing that I forgot to mention with the historically accurate airplanes. The airplane that he flies at the very end of the movie to try to kill Godzilla, that has the weird propeller in the back of it. That was a historically accurate thing where they had only made 2 of them, but they were intended to like intercept high altitude bombers like the ones that would have bombed Tokyo, and they were intended to eventually become jet powered, where the propeller engine would be swapped out for a jet engine, which is why it's in the back.
Interesting.
Because Germany was also developing jet fighters at the end of the war. So that's just the direction things were going. So that was really interesting to see that obscure aircraft get some screen time.
Yeah.
So just a lot of weird things for my history brain to latch on to.
Yeah. It's great though.
Which was really fun for me. Honestly, our dad would enjoy this movie, I think.
For sure.
He would really enjoy it.
For sure.
Man. I loved the method that they chose to kill Godzilla was like, let's try to give him the bends.
Yeah, that was something.
Yeah. Like we're gonna kill him with the pressure change, and then we're gonna race him up really fast and give him the bends, and then we're gonna shoot him until he dies. Like
So after the movie, I was like, Blake, is that like, could you actually do that? Like, if you put bubbles around something, would it sink it to the ocean floor like that? Like, is that real science? And
yeah.
I think his answer was, I suppose it makes sense. I have not heard or tested it, obviously.
Yeah.
But
on paper, it sounds like it would work. And what are scripts made out of? Paper. So, so here we are.
Yes.
Yeah. I almost forgot about him. There were some really powerful scenes with the kid that didn't get a chance to go to war, even though he really wanted to.
Yes.
And him telling the MC, which I'm going to look up his name because it's annoying me that I keep having to say main character. His nuts. Hold on. Directed by Takashi Yamazaki. What's your name? Cast. Okay, Koichi Shikishima. Koichi. So when the kid tells Koichi, like, oh man, I wish the war would have lasted longer so I could have gone and fought in it. And he's like, tell me that you don't mean that. He like gets up in his face and he's really, really offended. Like, tell me that you're not being serious. Because if the war had gone on any longer than it did, I'd be dead because I was a kamikaze pilot. So many more people would have died.
Yeah.
If the U.S. would have invaded the Japanese mainland, like, oh my goodness.
Well, and
the loss of life.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the captain of the little boat was also in the war, and so was the scientist, obviously. Like, they all had done their time except for the one kid. And then they're going off to fight Godzilla, and they've conscripted all of these veterans to help them, which, oh my gosh, that was powerful too. Why, like, the whole concept of why are you asking us to do one more thing when we've already done everything we can for our country?
Yeah. Like, we fought in the war. What more do you want?
Right.
Like, and we lost. Like,
right. Ugh, goosebumps again. But
and I'm really glad that they allowed people to leave without being shamed.
Yes.
Like, guys, I have a family, and this is a big irradiated dinosaur. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm out. And like they didn't get any kind of shame. They didn't get any
No.
kind of disrespect. It was just, yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Which I respect them for doing that and not like trying to
Agreed.
shame those people.
Agreed. But then they tell the kid that he's not going to go. And he's mad. He's so mad. And that
And they
like
say
it was,
as they're walking away,
yes.
they
What's
say
the
we're
line?
giving the world to you.
Yeah.
Like we're doing this so that you can go on.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and there's a line earlier where they said you should be proud that you didn't fight in war.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
why are you so ashamed and why is you so hung up on this? Like you should be proud that you didn't have to go because it's not fun,
Right.
dude.
Right. Like
Uh,
he had such a concept of like the glorification of the
yeah.
war, which is, oh man, like the commentary in that alone is so impactful. And then
Yeah.
they're out there, the plan's not going to plan, as it rarely does. And he shows up in the tugboat, and I'm like, at first it's just him, and I go, kid, what the heck are you gonna do out here? This is stupid. You're an idiot. Oh my gosh.
Yep.
And then it's all these tugboats, and I'm like, man, still a dumb plan, but I guess I'm glad you're here. Like,
They got all the tugboats.
it was cute, but also really dumb. But a good thing, I guess, ultimately.
Yeah, they managed to yank him up out of the water.
Yes.
So, yeah, it ended up being okay.
Yeah. I was like, oh, great. All the red shirts just showed up, as if we needed any more. But they survived.
Incredible movie.
So good. It ended, and I like not like slap, but like fake slapped Blake's leg and was like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That had no business being that good.
Yep. I had seen people raving about it online, so I had kind of gone in with that expectation that it was going to blow me away, but it surpassed all expectations even with that. Just man. And it also like the visual effects were still really really good, but you could tell they weren't like super high budget, but
No.
they still managed to pull it off.
For sure.
You could tell some of it was practical with the Godzilla head in the water chasing the boat. Which I kind of liked. It made it creepier, I thought.
Yeah.
It kind of gave Godzilla this weird uncanny valley of like
Yeah.
almost being chased by an animatronic, but it was really good. So they pulled
Highly
it off
recommend.
really well. And I really hope for a sequel.
Well, I know that from my understanding of what Blake said, the director was not planning on a sequel. But because it's done so well, he is excited about doing a sequel. So hopefully.
I hope so. Man, I would love to just give this guy the reins to Godzilla for a while because he knows how to steer the carriage. He's man. He's done a very good job.
Yes.
Apparently he was writing that script for like 3 years.
So you can definitely see the COVID in it, right?
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
But
it was written during COVID. So
pretty much.
You can see the effect that isolation, like, oh my gosh, it's the way it examines isolation. With so many of the characters, but particularly the main character and his housemate.
Yeah.
How they're living in this space together in very close proximity, but they're so separated. Oh my gosh. What a dynamic way to tell a story.
Because you would see that during COVID where couples, one of them catches it and they have to isolate from each other, but still stay in the same like confined space. So you're right. That's a really interesting thing I did not notice that I'm sure impacted the script writing.
Absolutely.
And, man.
Well, and just
good catch.
So many people so many people were so alone during that period. And you can see that. You can see that in most of the characters, how alone they feel.
And talk about, I mean, survivor's guilt with COVID, you know, like, don't tell me that didn't have a part in it too,
absolutely.
you know? Yeah, crazy.
Yep. I do feel like I need to see it again. I wish I had seen it again before we recorded this, but that was not possible.
Same, yeah.
But I'm so glad you finally saw it and that we could talk about it because it's so good.
Definitely one of the top movies of the year. Also, seeing it in the same year as Oppenheimer.
We have to talk about that. Okay, we have to.
Wow, what a trip.
I will say I have not seen Oppenheimer, but I have heard, and you can tell me if you agree with this or not. But I've heard people say that they have no need to see Oppenheimer again. They saw it once and that was fine, but they would see Godzilla again.
Yeah. I mean, they both. Oppenheimer's like a biopic, right? It's not as adrenaline pumping as a Godzilla movie. It's visually stunning and like it's emotional for sure. But you're right. I agree that I don't think I need to see Oppenheimer again. But I would like to own this Godzilla movie.
Like really own it. Have it on DVD.
Like I want
it's
a physical.
Really
I want the Blu-ray.
Yeah. Blu-ray. Yes.
And the soundtrack on vinyl. And
Heck yeah, man.
Like that is, yeah, because they both examine nuclear power and what that does to the world, but they both do it in different ways. Where Oppenheimer has this kind of existential dread of like what's going to happen now that I've made this thing. I've opened Pandora's box. I can't unring this bell. I feel like I've destroyed the world because these things are going to destroy the world eventually. And then in Godzilla, it's like, yeah, this thing, this monster it's like Godzilla is the personification of that dread of like, oh man, I created this thing and now the world's going to end. And Godzilla is like the personification of nuclear power that has come to destroy the world.
Yeah.
It's just, man, it's so crazy to have seen those movies in the same year.
Yeah. We had a movie about Frankenstein and a movie about Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What a crazy double feature that would make. Now that I think about it.
Yeah. So, speaking of double feature, I'd mentioned that I had like a weird theater anecdote that I wanted to share with you. As Blake and I were leaving the theater for Godzilla -1, there's an old guy standing out in the lobby. I'm assuming he's the janitor for the theater. I don't know for sure. He's standing in the lobby, just kind of waiting for folks to leave. And we come out of the theater and he goes, "Oh, you know what you guys should see? You should really see The Boy and the Heroine. Or The Heroine and the Boy. What's that movie called?" And
no!
It's that other Japanese movie. The other Japanese movie that's out right now. And I go, "Oh, The Boy and the Hare." And he goes, yeah. You guys should go see that now. This is it. This was like, the theater was closing. And the irony was that we did go back the next day. And then the greater irony is that The Boy and the Heron is it explores post-war life as well. Of course, very different.
Yeah.
But it had an element of that, and I was like, this is kind of uncanny. But yeah, The Boy and the Heroine. You're like, oh, no.
I'm gonna
choose the bird.
I'm gonna choose to interpret it as a heroine, as in like a female hero figure.
That is not what this guy meant, but
it's not a narcotic.
I don't think that's what this guy meant. He totally misspoke. It was very funny.
That is funny.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But,
nice.
Yeah.
Well, that's about all I had for Godzilla -1.
Can I make a recommendation to you?
Sure.
Speaking of Studio Ghibli movies, I mean, you should see The Boy and the Heron just for the sake of seeing The Boy and the Heron, but I think that As the Wind Rises is a better complement to this Godzilla movie. Because it's another example of an examination of the human condition and post-war and kind of an Oppenheimer thing, because the main character in that movie is an airplane engineer. So, and he's developing planes that are used in World War II. Anyway, I feel like As the Wind Rises and Godzilla -1 are like good complements for each other.
Nice.
Very different, but that's my recommendation.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. Cool. Well, I guess now we should just go over what we have been reading, watching, playing.
Yeah.
Other than Godzilla.
Right.
And The Boy and the Heron, because we know that you went to see that.
Yes.
So, Anna, tell me, what have you been watching, reading, playing?
Reading the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin. That is pretty much it right now. The holidays have been very busy.
Indeed.
Watching. I have a few more things I've watched. I watched a plethora of animated Christmas movies.
Yep.
I couldn't even tell you which ones. A whole bunch of them. And we watched Robin Hood, the Errol Flynn Robin Hood, as a family.
We did.
Which was a great blast from the past. I watched. Sorry, my brain.
Your what?
My brain just shut down for a second. Blake and I watched the Weird Al Yankovic movie. I don't know what it's called.
Me neither.
It's a biopic, but I feel like it's satire, which is very fitting considering it's about Weird Al. Yeah. I don't know how much of it is real and how much of it is fake, I guess is what I was saying.
Is that with Daniel Radcliffe?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
It's very funny. It's very weird.
Fitting.
Yes. I also watched Cruella, which I feel like I have said on the podcast before that I had no interest in watching that movie. And I can't even tell you why I clicked on it on Disney Plus to watch it the other night.
Fair.
But surprisingly good. I shouldn't say that because it's Emma Stone, and Emma Stone is great.
Yeah.
Like, I've never seen her do a role poorly.
Like, I haven't seen the movie, but I also am not planning on watching it because I'm not like doubting her acting ability. I'm doubting the script.
Well, I'm telling you, the script, surprisingly good.
Okay.
It's more of a heist movie.
Oh. I was not expecting that.
Yeah, neither was I.
Okay.
A heist movie that also deals with survivor's guilt. And, surprisingly very good.
Cool.
Gosh, anything else that I've watched? That's all I can think of at the moment. Critical Role. We don't have a... Huh?
Critical Role.
Oh, yes, I am getting caught up on Campaign 3 of Critical Role. Thank you for the reminder. I'm still behind, but I have been watching. I am getting caught up. Slowly but surely. I watched Loki.
The season 2?
Yeah, I watched season 2 of Loki.
Nice.
I watched season 2 of Loki. Bonkers. The ending is very good.
Yeah.
The last episode in particular is very good.
I think what I had said before on the podcast about it without spoiling it was just like that last scene what has some of the best non-verbal storytelling that Marvel has ever done.
Yes.
Because you know exactly what he's doing and what he's sacrificing to do it.
Yes.
And just the visuals they use are so breathtaking in combination with his theme song.
Yes. Well, the name of the episode, Glorious Purpose. Oh, Marvel. I'd pretty much given up on you doing anything that was gonna like give me goosebumps.
And the
Loki,
line,
of all people.
yeah, the line that he gives when he says, "I know what I have to do for you, for all of us," that was improvised. Well, like he came up with that, not the script writers.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Hiddleston did, and that's the same thing that he says to Odin in the Thor movie when he says, "I could have done it, Father. I could have done it for, like I could have, like when he's trying to destroy Jotunheim.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I could have done it for you, for all of us." Uh, it was
Yeah.
a plea. It was a plea for approval from his dad.
Yeah.
And then it comes back in that last episode of Loki, and he finally becomes the god that he knows he has to be for you, for all of us. Is so good.
The unbelievable amount of character growth for Loki in this show.
Yes.
Also, there's a moment where I don't remember what's happening on. Oh, they're like, where are they? Where they're at Odin's cavern or whatever, and you know what I'm talking about? They show up at this place and it's like a bar that's themed to look like there's a car. It's themed to look Norse, and there's a carving of Odin and of Thor and Loki, whatever. And Loki makes some comment about how, this is like it's something along the lines of like trying to recreate something. It's just like I wish I could remember the line. Why don't I have your brain where I could remember the lines
something about it
perfectly?
being like a cheap imitation or something,
yes.
probably.
And it just made me think of that scene in one of the Thor movies where Loki is literally putting on a play of how things went but did not go.
Yeah.
And I was like, are you realizing your own like
hypocrisy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was like the most inarticulate way of saying that, but I was like, oh my gosh, he's self-aware. He's learning so much about himself.
Yeah.
Through this experience.
Uh-huh.
And then is in fact burdened with glorious purpose.
Uh-huh. Yes.
So
love it.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah. So, what else have you been watching?
Yeah, since I remembered that I would watch that. I think that's all for watching, honestly.
Okay.
We did watch, I mentioned like the Christmas movies, but have you ever seen the Nestor donkey movie?
No.
Yeah. That's not like the actual name of it. It's about the donkey that Mary rides on to Bethlehem. But in the beginning of this movie, this donkey's got really long ears, and he gets made fun of, very Rudolph-like.
Uh-huh.
And he gets kicked out of the barn or whatever, and his mom digs out a little place in the snow for him, and then she, like, nests on top of him. And I look over at Blake, and I go, they're gonna kill this donkey's mom. And they did!
Mm-hmm.
I was so upset. I was like, this is a terrible movie. This is terrible. It's so sad. It's so sad.
Yeah.
It's a Christmas movie. What the heck, man?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway. I didn't even watch the rest of the movie. I was so distraught about this baby being an orphan because his
donkey.
mom... I was like, this is Land Before Time business. And I don't like it.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
I also watched an episode of Green Eggs and Ham, which is a TV show on Netflix.
Okay.
Actually surprisingly good for a kid's show.
Weird, but okay.
I
didn't know this existed.
I didn't either. Watched a couple Christmas episodes of Cuphead. Also didn't know that was a show on Netflix.
You and Blake should try playing Cuphead.
He has it. We should play it. We talked about playing it. And then we also... we watched a few episodes of Gravity Falls.
I love Gravity Falls.
We were like in the middle
much.
of season 2 because that's where Blake and his daughter are at. So I need to go back and like actually watch it.
You do.
I know.
Stop everything.
I know.
That needs to be priority number 1. Is start at season 1 and make your way to where they are.
Yeah. So.
It's such a good show.
Yep. For playing, Blake got me a game called Doomlings for Christmas,
Okay.
which it's kind of on the same vibe. I don't know if it's the same maker as the unicorn game.
Oh, okay.
Exploding Unicorn? Is that what it's called?
Unstable unicorns.
Unstable Unicorns. Kind of in the same vein as that. A little different, but it's very cute. It's very fun. It's like Magic meets a very dumbed down version of Magic. And Unstable Unicorns combined, sort of. Oh, we played Magic while
Indeed
you were
we did.
here with Blake. That was new.
Fun.
That was fun. We'll do again. Excited about it. We played a bunch of games with Blake's family for Christmas. I couldn't even tell you. Some Jackbox games.
Oh, yeah.
Super fun. So, yeah. That's been great.
Nice.
What about you? I've been talking for forever.
So, you still have Nori in the Blind Forest.
Ori and the Blind Forest.
Ori in the Blind Forest.
Oh, yeah.
Guess who else plays those games?
Who? Sarah.
Yes.
That's awesome.
As from Nick and Sarah.
Oh. Oh.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
Sarah.
Yes.
What?
Because I was talking to Nick on FaceTime a few days ago, and she was in the room playing that game, and Nick had mentioned that that's what she was playing, and she was playing the second game. But, yeah, and I was just like, oh my gosh, Anna plays that game, the first one anyway. And, yeah.
That's
And Sarah said
amazing.
that's because Anna has impeccable taste. So that's...
True story. True facts.
So, you'll have to connect with her about that sometime.
I will. For sure.
So as
Thank
far
you
as
for
me,
telling me.
for sure. For what I've been watching, I am caught up on Jujutsu Kaisen, and there's a new episode today that I watched. I am getting caught up on Spy Family because I fell way behind.
Oh, yeah. I am
And-
super behind.
I'm still not 100% caught up, but I'm close. We have been watching Percy Jackson, the new Percy Jackson and the Olympians on Disney Plus.
Did you read those
show.
books?
I did not, but Hope did.
Okay. Gotcha.
The show has been really good so far. I've enjoyed it a lot.
Okay.
Also keeping up with Critical Role Campaign 3. And also we have been plugging away on Freaks and Geeks, which we are on like episode, I don't know, 11, I think, is the one we
you're going
watched
slow.
today. I mean, we usually only watch like an episode while we're eating or something, and they're long episodes.
Well, and you both have games that you play, so that makes sense.
Right. It's usually a one episode a day type situation. For reading, the 5th season, and I did get a bunch of books for Christmas though.
You did.
So, but with school starting, I don't know when I'll have more books that I'm reading than just the read along book.
Sure.
But
Sure.
it's fine. For playing, still playing Baldur's Gate 3, still in the midst of my evil Dark Urge run, which I am in the final act for.
Ooh, wow. You went through that fast. Is it shorter than the normal run?
It feels shorter because, I'm missing a lot of the characters that were there the first time.
That's true. It's just like there was another game we played that had an evil run, and it was also like half the length of the good guy version of the game. Was that Third Age?
Yeah. Still playing D&D, and that's been going well. The egg is still there, although I'm not sure if anything will happen with it because apparently in order for it to hatch, it has to be in the right environment, which for a black dragon egg would be a swampy area, and we've never really been hanging out there for long.
Well, it sounds like you need to go to a swampy area.
Yeah, but that's metagaming, Anna. My character doesn't know that. But I know that. So, we'll see what happens there. Also, like you said, we played Magic. I did play Unstable Unicorns a few days ago, actually, with Hope's family.
I do like that game.
Also, Monikers. We also played a game called Mind the Gap while we were at
Yes, we
at
played that
home.
together. I forgot about that. We did.
Which is kind of pitting the generations against each other. And we realized that we don't have any Gen X people in our family.
And boy, does it show.
Yeah, it's hard to... Those questions were hard.
They were so hard. Also...
Even for our parents, who did live through it. But, yeah.
Yeah. So, like, there's two ways to play that game. You can either play it, like, with a member of each generation on a team, or, like age groups against one another. We chose to play age groups against one another, which was a bad idea.
No, you should try to mix the groups up.
Yeah.
But
it'll be a much better time for everybody.
For sure. But yeah, that's pretty much all of the playing. So, yeah. Good stuff. Yeah. Well, so next week will be another read-along. And that's the last read-along for this book, the 5th season. Yeah. So get in there and vote, y'all, so that you can help us pick our next read-along book. And yeah, it'll be a great time. And this is the last podcast episode of this year. So happy 2023.
Right. And in fact, when this comes out, it will be 2024. But we recorded this before the new year, and this is the last episode of season 3. So bear with us. But yeah, happy New Year.
So we'll see you guys in 2024.
We'll see you in February for sure.
Yeah. Yep. So. Yeah. And I guess until next time, happy reading.
And we'll talk to you next time.
Or go read something cool. Go watch Godzilla -1.
Do it.
Okay. Yes. Later.
Bye.